So first, here's the entire footprint. Our main core and base go on this side with the way in at these two raised foundations. A large furnace will be on the ground here and sealed in by the foundations around it. The TC will go in this triangle, which is in the centralmost location. This also allows further upgrading around this area if you choose to add more honeycomb around the whole base. And that is the overview of what we're about to build, so let's start here. The first step will be building our starter base. Let's take a quick look inside. Our front door leads into our bunker entrance, which works immediately. Not the strongest it can be, but for early wipe it will work. On the inside we have our workbench in this position. Now when we open this door it actually blocks the path here, which is pretty useful. We have 6 sleeping bags and over here 16 rows of storage, which will be enough to get you started. There is also a good amount of space to expand throughout this early layout. If you're wondering about the wood, these 2 pieces will have to be removed, so upgrading the pieces around it doesn't make much sense. It's better to keep the price down. Now we can add some honeycomb to our first floor, where I've added these triangle foundations. There is also a square one here, which is where we'll start. Upgrade this to wood. This is the time when we remove this and also the triangle above the bunker entrance. Now we can upgrade all of the remaining wood into stone. Place a stone wall here where the door used to be. Also add a slanty roof here so that we can get up to our new entrance. Next we'll fill in the honeycomb around the sides of the first floor. Expanding into a second floor while forgetting to wrap the first floor is a common mistake. Next we could bring our bunker entrance up 1 level with these 2 walls. Extend these walls around the edge of the square part of the base until you get here. We'll need this triangle later. Our door goes here. We also want to fill in all of the square ceilings above us at this time. For the time being, we do need to have 2 doors on the edge. In the finished base, this one here will be the entrance, and this one will lead to our large furnace section. For now, close them up and only use the double door. Next we're going to add the elevator to the 3rd floor, which right now is the roof. As soon as you find yourself a garage door, this is the place you want to put it, since adding a double door here would block your way up to the top. At the top, you'll want the door to face the same way, but with no half floor through the middle. Before you close this triangle, you'll want to stand right here on the edge and add a triangle slanty roof. This will help connect the large furnace part later on. Now the base should look just like this. Now you'll want to come in through the front door and add a door here, just so that there's more than 1 door leading to the outside. There are a couple of upgrades that are the most important right now. First, these 2 raised foundations should be at least sheet metal. Then, over here on this side, we have these 2 walls and the foundation. This is where our TC currently is. On the 2nd floor, one of the things I like to do now is place a few temporary furnaces. These will help speed up the metal production. We need the metal to upgrade our core, which starts by upgrading this floor. Next, we'll descend into the bunker and upgrade the floor down there too. The coolest thing about a bunker is no matter its size, it maintains its material raid cost as long as all of the edges of the core are the same. So we'll go ahead and upgrade the rest to metal. Now let's upgrade our living space a bit. First, we'll put a wall frame on the front of these 2 squares. We'll then want to bring over this shelf for our second loot room. It's really up to you which loot room design you want to build in these, but most of them do use garage doors on the front. Next, we're going to replace this middle door and the workbench. The level 2 can go here first, but for the video, we'll go right for the level 3. Before you place it, you want to build this twig so that you don't mistakenly block the bunker seal. Other than that, it can go right up against the back wall. Once you have it where you want, I like to double check that I can still place the twig half wall. For the door, eventually you'll want an armored double, but a garage door works here for a long time, if not forever. The 3 bags can now be lined up easily down the middle. Now from the outside, anyone that may be online cannot see everything that you just upgraded, which is always a plus for me. The next addition we'll want to make will be to the front here, and then after we can add in the large furnace area. Now it's important before you add this honeycomb to upgrade the wall first, because once you put this in, you can no longer access it. On the front here, we'll extend out some triangles and then put stone walls on the front of it. What we're basically doing here is covering up the high foundations. We'll put one wall here and then this slanty roof. We want to leave a gap here so that we can come back and upgrade these 2 walls later on. You could upgrade them to metal now and then close the gap. Next we can start adding in our large furnace section, which all starts at this foundation. First what we'll do is remove it and then replace it with the stone one. We also want to add one to the left of it and then a triangle on the right. Then we need one more triangle in between the 2 honeycomb. We can then build twig squares off of the triangles, forming a temporary 2x2. Next we need to secure the inner 2x2 by adding 3 triangles to each side just like this. There will be 1 extra spot for a triangle at the end, just fill it in too. Here's an aerial view just to make sure it's correct. Once it is, we can then break the twig parts and place the furnace. You can place it snug in the corner and not block any of the following walls. Now we want to build walls around the entire edge that we just created. At the end here, we'll also want to include this square. From this direction here, you'll want to add 2 wall frames, which will be our door path into this part of the base. Now for the top, we're going to use triangle slanty roofs. We want to place 1 roof on each of the 3 walls we just built and repeat that on all sides. Since this side is longer, we can use the frame instead. This final one, since it touches the main base, will need these extra pieces first. The roof goes right into here. This is why we actually needed that random roof piece earlier in the base. The final piece goes over on this side. If everything was built correctly, then there should be no gaps anywhere in this ceiling. We now have a fully sealed off large furnace. Next we need to connect this area to the hallway of our main base. First we'll want to keep this square at 1 height and then extend this part up 1 wall. Since we can't place a roof here, we need to add a wall to this spot here first. Now when we add this roof tile in, the wall will snap into place. Next we'll seal this up with the ceiling, fill this part in, and then our garage door can go right here. Now we want to be able to get up to this door, so you can use a furnace here temporarily, but ideally you would want to place down your oil refinery at this time. Now we have an easy way to jump up, and you can see how it leads into the base. From the outside it looks like this. Now we still have some upgrading to do and a lot of stuff to add inside that furnace part, but let's go back and add in stuff to our main base now. So first, let's go ahead and knock this out. We want to come under this and start upgrading this stuff to metal. We can put a stone wall in the front and then a stone wall on the way out. Now from the top, coming out of the front door, we're going to expand our entrance. First place the door, then expand around this triangle. On this side, place 2 frames and then we can seal the top. We want the front door to swing in, and I also like to place a couple of traps here just in case you end up needing them. These frames get the shop fronts. We will add some stuff here soon to help us get better vision. We'll want 1 more single door on the path here, swinging out. We also want a double door to go into this frame here. Now if we go a bit further in, we can replace both of these double doors with garage doors. You can see how the front door path splits into 2 routes here, one going into the main base and the other going into the large furnace part. Now our front entrance is done, we have a little bit more vision, and overall it's looking pretty good. Next we have some upgrading to do. Now we're going to start on the first floor and work our way up. For the bunker entrance, we're going to want to upgrade all of these pieces to sheet metal. Pretty much anything that is near the two raised foundations. Next, we'll want to seal the top of each of the foundations with sheet metal half walls. Once you're here, you can upgrade the foundations themselves into HQM. The overall idea here is to get a triangle hatch in this slot. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this though, as the ladder works just fine. You can even seal the bunker with the ladder in its position. For the video, I'll use the hatch because I do believe it to be better. Inside the bunker, you'll want to start upgrading everything on the edge of the core into HQM as soon as you can. For the video, not a better time than now. The upgrade should look like this when it's finished. Remember to upgrade all of the pieces inside the TC room as well, and then you can put the window on when you do get one. Next, on the roof, we want to upgrade all of the following pieces to sheet metal. This is just to stop raiders from top downing the base in its current state. Along these sides, there are a couple of upgrades we need to apply before we can add more honeycomb and expand up. On the back side of the base, we also have the same upgrades, but back here we want to add something extra on the bottom layer. First, upgrade this wall since we will no longer be able to see it, and then add this square piece of honeycomb. In the finished base, that will deter raiders from trying to splash their way into the main base and the furnace base through that space in the back. Next, we're going to expand up and around, which will make this area very weak, so we have to add honeycomb here. The first wall is easy, but the second one cannot be placed with the roof there. The only real way to fix this is by coming inside here and adding a couple of pieces. Up here we'll add a triangle, and once you can get the wall in, it will stick through the roof and we can then use it like that for the honeycomb. We can top it off with sheet metal and it's good to go for now. Now the base is really starting to get chunky. The next thing we'll do will be to add the stone honeycomb around the second layer. This is easiest done from the roof. Now we are kind of skipping around with upgrading and expanding, while we could also be adding in our second floor stuff, or all the utilities in the furnace section. It's weird because it kind of makes sense to do it all at once. And that is the second floor honeycomb. Now before we go any higher, first we need to solidify our first floor. So let's go to the ground, and then we want to upgrade all of the following pieces. These upgrades will make the raid cost to get into the first floor 23 rockets from all directions. They would only be able to get into any 2 rooms from any one direction. You will also then want to upgrade these 2 tops. Now you're going to have to jump down from the roof for them, but for me, for the video, I shall fly. Now I said it's 23 rockets to get into any 2 rooms on the first floor, but we can do a bit better though. If we add a triangle honeycomb to each side of the first floor like this, it will take additional rockets to get into those same 2 rooms at once. Once the first floor is sorted out, we can then justify expanding up to a 3rd floor. The 3rd floor will surround the original 2x2 edge until here where we expand out to the front. We need this extra space because this is going to be the way up to our defense floor. I like to put the hatch in this location because it's not over anything important raid-wise. It is wise to put a couple of doors here, or this will become the weak spot for a raid very quickly. I would also recommend replacing this as soon as possible. And that's our 3rd floor. Very, very simple. Now let's start adding some way overdue utility and storage. Now let's finish our 2nd floor. First thing we'll want to do is upgrade all of this stuff to metal. We can also do the elevator part to avoid leaving weak spots from the outside. You can build this floor however you like. Me, I like to put a 1x2 loot room in that space and sleeping bags across the floor, with a bit of utility on each end. The way I would format my loot room would be like this. I'll use garage doors on all of the remaining slots here so that a door raid becomes a bit harder. Some people would argue that there should be a wall in the middle of that loot room. This is a completely fair point, and honestly, you can do it if you want. But for now, a magic trick. As you may have guessed, this is exactly how I would build this floor, because I did build it like this. Sleeping bags on each floor is something I always try to do, just in case you lose access to certain areas during a raid. The next part will be the large furnace area. First, add a wall here and upgrade this one above it. This room is now surrounded by sheet metal only. We have a lot of work to do in here. First, let's upgrade this wall and rotate it. Then we want to upgrade all of the foundations to metal. In the end, it will cost 8 rockets to get into here, and if the foundations are stone, the roofs are weak, and it's potentially bad. Behind this HQM is the TC, so we'll at least want sheet metal on the ends here for now. Now to make this furnace, 8 rockets to raid. First we'll add 3 ceilings to each of the sides like this. This is to separate the ceiling, which will be metal, from the stone sides that we're going to compound with a garage door and walls to make it 7 rockets. So for every section, we want a stone wall on the left side with the soft side facing the furnace like this. We also want a garage door right next to it. We'll put a little loot room here, but the rest of the rooms can be used to house all of the utility. This is where I like to put the stuff that I need in my base, but I don't need to be protected by 30 rockets or something like that. The first room has this repair bench, a research table, along with some storage and a sleeping bag. This second room has the lab, some storage, and also this makes for a great electricity room. I'm not going to add the electricity in for this video, but I will do a follow-up soon. In the main part, you can hang some boxes off the side like this, which is pretty cool. You can also add some turrets up here, which I will cover in the electricity video for this base. I've added the loot room here already, and if you want, you can go all out and add the window frame and then the window. This garage door also needs to go in. Make sure it faces towards the furnace or it's going to stick out the front of the base. One final option you have here is this drop wall of boxes. Drop boxes are pretty good. They hold 2 rows of storage each. Only downside is they do take HQM. It's up to you if you want to add them. The final thing on this furnace base will be the ceiling. Now once you start adding in all of this utility and cool stuff, it becomes important to upgrade it to metal. Otherwise it's only 4 rockets to get to the large furnace. You can come out of the roof access and jump down to upgrade it all. Now I want to give thanks to Red Apple for making a video on how to do this sealed in large furnace thing. It's a very good trick to have added into your base. That video will also be linked in the description. As far as this upgrading goes, remember there is a roof inside here as well. If we step back now and take a look, the base is really starting to come together and it's actually almost done. We just have a few more things we need to add. Like the 3rd floor. You can put whatever you like up here. I personally like to have the bedrooms up here. It's likely that raiders will not top down this base, so it's good to be able to spawn in above them. Beds with some small boxes and lockers, and to make up the rest of the crew, I put down sleeping bags. It is possible to get a couple of more beds in here where these sleeping bags are. It does make traveling through this level a bit slower though, so I leave that up to you. The highest point of this base will be the defense floor, and the overhang for it looks like this. To build this roof, first we want to upgrade the 2x2 part to sheet metal. We'll want the door frames on the right side of each of the small gaps like this. We won't be able to place the 5th one here without placing this frame first. Next we'll want to place window frames around the rest of the edge. When you put the doors in, they should swing out and to the right. This lessens the size of the gap and also gives you angles to defend from. You can use any window that you like here. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. I tend to still like the metal glass window. Next to the hatch you come up through, I like to add a short wall here just to give you some cover on your way up, but I guess it does depend on your terrain. Next, if we come out of the hatch and face the back of the base, we can mark out where the hatch goes for the heli storage area up top. I like to build frames around the 2x2 to keep the stability high enough. After that, you can then start filling in all of the ceiling. With the ceiling filled in, the floor should look like this. It's a pretty basic type of defense floor, not too flashy, but sometimes the simplest is the strongest. Plus you could add whatever you like to this. One more thing to add to those gaps above the door, you do have a couple of options here. I like to use these siren lights. Placing one above each of the doors makes it impossible for a player to be squeezed in by a teammate. Now on the very top, we'll add in a simple heli storage facility. We want the entrance to face the front of the base here, so place the frame here and then these two floors. This makes landing here very easy and you can fly right in. All we have to do now is enclose the rest and seal it up. A garage door goes on the front and we are good to go. Now all of the main structural parts of the base are now present, but there are still a couple of cool things we want to do to finish this one up. First, let's land on this ledge here. From the base we can access this by dropping out of the defense floor. I like to add some short walls around this entire edge. This will give you additional means of defense and you can even make it out of wood to save materials. Now it's not a game changer, but it is cool. On the inside of the base, we'll start in this room here. We'll add a couple of large boxes, which is good for drop storage, but also gives us more height to look for those door campers. A little bit further in, we need to add a door. You can probably add this earlier, I kind of forgot about this one. But anyway, you can use a garage door here, but if you do have one, I suggest an armor double. Now let's go down into our bunker and see what we can add. It is possible just to add in 2 vending machines here, which is basically like 2 large boxes that are vertical. We can do a bit better though. If we pick up these sleeping bags, we can actually fit an extra one in. The first 2 go into this corner. Then the third one goes on this side and we can still access the TC with ease. We'll need to put the 6 sleeping bags back in a slightly different pattern than before, like this. And that is pretty much the base. Oh, but wait, make sure you upgrade this. And that is pretty much the base. My first base with a name. Like I said earlier, I'm going to make a follow-up video with the electrical setup for this base, and there's also a bigger version of this base made for bigger groups. Let me know if that's something y'all would be interested in. Other than that, happy holidays to all. I hope you are all doing well. See ya in 2021.